I'm Ann Kennedy of Beyond Inc. I am here at SES New York, and with me is Nick Carr, who is our opening keynote speaker. He is author of The Big Switch, and before that, IT Doesn't Matter. Nick, it's wonderful to have you here. I really enjoyed your remarks. How are you finding SES New York?
It's been inspiring in a way, just seeing all the people here and talking to them and a lot of the exhibits. Very interesting. And as I talked about in my talk, you know, search engine marketers, the ability to translate into algorithms some of the things we used to do on our own in the area of marketing and information providing is really central to a lot of the trends I talk about. So it's great to be able to meet the people that are here.
So I know what's on the minds of many of the people who are here. You addressed it a little bit at SES London on your video. As you describe Google and Microsoft building these enormous centralized computing centers, what do you make of the proposed purchase of Yahoo by Microsoft? Does this have anything to do with this? Is it a red herring for what's really going on? What do you think?
I think Microsoft wants to buy Yahoo for a lot of the reasons I talked about. That we're moving into an era when a lot of consumer software is going to be distributed as services over the net. And it's going to look much more like a media business than an old packaged software business. So for a company like Microsoft, which is, you know, at its heart a packaged software business, it has to build up its capabilities in the media areas and importantly in the advertising area, because that's what's going to support a lot of these programs. And I think, you know, it's had trouble doing that on its own, and it's hoping to jumpstart the process by buying Yahoo, which despite its troubles has a lot of strengths as a media platform and as an advertising platform.
So are you saying it's more of a buy versus build play while Microsoft looks into building these large computing centers?
I think what it realizes Microsoft realizes is that it needs to both buy and build. That just one or the other isn't going to get it to where it wants to be, particularly in terms of competing with Google as fast as it needs to.
And they certainly have the resources to do that. Another question that occurs to me listening to you talk is the whole notion of net neutrality and how the telcos are involved with that, and are they going to drag their feet the same way that they have dragged their feet in the past with computing?
Probably. They're gonna act in their own economic and business interests. And, you know, I think that it's not a black and white. Net neutrality is not a black and white issue because, you know, the network providers as well as all the companies built on top of that have to realize that at some point we may face constraints on our ability to deliver all the information, all the services we want to deliver over the net, and that may force us to make choices and move away from the purely neutral treatment of information to more of a tiered treatment of it. And, you know, there are certainly drawbacks to that, and I'm not advocating it, but we have to realize that a case can be made for both sides, and we'll probably need to have some sort of compromise between different interests in the end.
What about artificial intelligence? Marissa Myers says that's what Google's built on and that's where they're going. I understand from some of our friends that you have some interesting views on AI.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the comments of the top people at Google, both Marissa Mayer and Sergey Brin and Larry Page and Eric Schmidt, they all talk about artificial intelligence as being central to the future of Google. And in fact, one of them has said that Google search engine is really an exercise in perfecting or moving toward greater artificial intelligence. And, you know, to me, that's, on the one hand, there's practical benefits to that. The smarter that Google becomes, the better it's going to be able to deliver to me the information I want when I want it. On the other hand, you know, it scares me a good bit to think of people who are so comfortable with the idea of artificial intelligence, even to the point of talking about, you know, having a brain plug-in that you won't have to use your PC anymore. You'll get Google as kind of an extension of your brain and providing information. I have to say, I think that you might think about that as science fiction, but with Google and with all the money it's putting into artificial intelligence and other companies and all the progress that's being made, it's something that people should be concerned about and should think about what are the long-term implications for our free will, for our ability to be integral, natural human beings with our own thoughts, if more and more we're being supplied the information and even the thoughts by this machine that we call the internet. It's something that I think is going to become a greater concern in the years ahead, particularly the next 10 years or so.
About 5 years ago, Ira Glass said we give up our privacy for convenience. It sounds like you're saying that we're going to give up our ability to think for the convenience.
I think that's the danger, that we become, in what I talk about at the end of the book, is that we start to imitate the computer systems we rely on in the way we process information ourselves. It all becomes a matter of getting information, going from spot to spot, from link to link as quickly as possible to gather information in a process that's really supplemented or guided by machines. And you start wondering, is artificial intelligence about computers becoming as smart as people, or is it about people becoming as dumb as computers? And my fear is it's somewhere in between those two things.
And you threw out a challenge to the search community to make a choice, whether we were marketing or manipulation. Can you explain a little bit more about what you think we ought to be doing, or what direction we ought to be taking?
Well, marketing, has always been about influence, and even in some cases about manipulation. What I think we're coming to is an era of marketing when marketers are going to be able to tap into enormous quantities of information about individuals and individual consumers and what they do, what they look at, what they think about. And the danger is that they're going to cross the line from marketing into monitoring and manipulation without the consumer, without me as an individual having any idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So I think, there's going to be huge temptation to do that, because there are great economic benefits in knowing more about what I want to do and what I want to buy next than your competitor does. But there's an ethical side to this, and frankly, I don't know how that plays out. But I think, individual people employed in this space, working in this space, need to realize that there is an ethical dimension to their jobs, and make I think wise choices in balancing the marketing imperative with more of the social, cultural, human imperative of allowing people privacy and allowing people their own thoughts and their own motivations and so on.
That's really fantastic. Thank you. I hope that we'll all take it to heart. Nick Carr's book, The Big Switch, is now number 5 on the Wall Street Journal business bestseller list, which we're very pleased of. Thank you so much, Nick. It's been great talking to you.